Welcome agents. Today Ubisoft Massive have released on livestream the official release of gameplay of Battle for Brooklyn and new exciting updates coming to The Division 2. Watch Harry and Sally who discuss the livestream on the following podcast.
Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. Now today we're going to jump into something a little different.
Okay.
We are diving into the world of video games.
Right.
Specifically, Tom Clancy's The Division 2 and its 6th anniversary. You might be thinking, a video game? Really? What could be so deep about that?
Yeah.
But trust me, there's a lot more to this than just, running around shooting and collecting loot.
It's true. This all started with a YouTube video that was celebrating the anniversary. And what's fascinating is how this video touches on some really big ideas.
Yeah.
Survivalism, the psychology of collapse, even a new podcast that tries to bridge the gap between fiction and reality.
Exactly, and we're going to unpack all of that today. But first, for anyone who hasn't played The Division 2 before, it's set in a post-pandemic Washington, D.C., where society has pretty much fallen apart. So you become an agent, part of a group called The Division, and you're tasked with restoring order.
And that setting, this idea of a world gone wrong, that really seems to capture people's imaginations. Even 6 years after the game came out, these post-apocalyptic scenarios, they continue to fascinate us. Why do you think that is?
Well, maybe it's a way to, mentally prepare for the unexpected. If things ever did go south, we'd have some idea of how to handle it. But back to the anniversary, this game has gotten a ton of content over the years. 84 title updates, 13 seasons, new game modes. They've even added over 200 new gear pieces to the game.
That's a huge amount of support for any game, really. It really shows how dedicated the developers are to the game. But it also suggests something about the game's appeal. It clearly resonates with people enough to keep coming back for more even after 6 years.
And the developers are definitely showing their appreciation for the players. To celebrate the anniversary, they're giving everyone a free backpack. It's got this really cool dynamic display on it. And there are even more rewards if you watch their Twitch streams. You can get exotic caches, arm patches, weapon skins, all sorts of goodies.
It's smart, really. Rewarding the community like that fosters a sense of belonging, almost like a shared ownership of the game. It's no wonder online games put so much emphasis on building and maintaining that strong community.
Yeah, for sure. And they're really cranking up the community engagement right now with this thing they're calling an XP extravaganza. Basically, until March 18th, you earn experience points 5 times faster than normal. They've also got a special event in the Dark Zone that's a high-risk, high-reward area in the game where other players can attack you, where you don't lose XP if you die.
Ah, interesting. All of these events are clearly designed to get people playing, either by rewarding dedicated players or enticing new players with the chance to level up quickly. It's a pretty standard tactic in the gaming world.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see how they've tailored it to the anniversary celebration.
For sure. But here's where things take a bit of a strange turn.
Okay.
In April, we've got 2 events lined up. First, an April Fool's event where you can earn this adorable rabbit ears outfit. Yeah, you heard that right. Rabbit ears in a post-apocalyptic world.
That is a little bit of an odd choice, isn't it? It seems so out of place with the gritty, survival-focused tone of the game. Maybe they're trying to inject a little humor into the mix.
Perhaps. It definitely makes you wonder what they're thinking. Then there's the spring event, which will have the punishment and crime cosmetic bundles. But then the anniversary video throws us a curveball. They introduced this podcast called Tenacity, hosted by Dr. Bradley Garrett, who is an urban explorer and, get this, a survivalism movement specialist.
Yeah, that's intriguing. It makes you wonder why Ubisoft, the company behind the game, would invest in a podcast like this. On the surface, it seems like a marketing ploy, a way to extend the game's reach. But I think it goes deeper than that.
Yeah. You're right. It feels like they're trying to tap into something bigger. Should we take a listen to a clip from the podcast?
Absolutely. Let's hear what Dr. Garrett has to say.
All right.
Let's listen in. Audio clip plays. I'm Dr. Bradley Garrett, archaeologist and geographer. I'm going to be shaking up everything for prepping. I'll be distilling my years of experience as an explorer and adventurer into concrete advice. What to put in your bug-out bag, how to build a perfect first aid kit or the perfect fire, how to purify wild water, how to escape the city in an emergency, or make weapons from natural materials, even how to kit out the perfect escape vehicle, as well as much, much more. Until then, this is Dr. Bradley Garrett. Stay sharp and stay safe.
Wow. He really gets into the details there. It's almost like the Division 2 is becoming like a jumping off point for real world preparedness,
Yeah.
you know.
It is a really interesting connection, isn't it?
Yep.
You have this video game that explores a post-apocalyptic scenario, and then they launch a podcast that gives you actual practical advice on how to survive in a crisis. It makes you wonder if they're trying to tap into this growing anxiety people have about the state of the world.
Yeah, you might be onto something there. I mean, we've seen a huge surge in popularity for survivalism and prepping in recent years. Podcasts like Tenacity might be a reflection of that, but they also feed into it, giving people a sense of control in a world that often feels very uncertain.
And I think that ties back to what we were saying earlier about that enduring fascination with post-apocalyptic stories. They give us this safe space to confront our fears and anxieties,
Yeah.
to explore what we would do in these extreme situations.
Like a mental rehearsal for disaster.
Exactly. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the biggest reveal in this anniversary video, the upcoming Battle for Brooklyn downloadable content, or DLC as they call it in the gaming world.
Yes. We only got a few quick glimpses of it, but it was enough to get me really excited. We see the iconic Brooklyn Bridge, what looks like a new area similar to the Dark Zone, remember? That's where other players can go rogue and attack you, and then there's this mysterious flare being used.
The choice of Brooklyn as a setting is quite clever, I think. It's a dense urban environment with a lot of verticality, which could lead to some really interesting gameplay possibilities.
Oh yeah, imagine fighting your way across rooftops, through subway tunnels, maybe even having a firefight on the Brooklyn Bridge itself. It could be incredible. But what about that new Dark Zone-like area? Do you think they'll stick with the player versus player combat, or could they be trying something different?
Well, the YouTuber who made the video speculated that it might be a player versus environment dark zone. So you would still have that high-risk, high-reward environment, but without the constant threat of other players turning on you.
That would be a game changer. It would allow players to experience the intensity of the Dark Zone without the sometimes frustrating element of player versus player combat.
It's certainly a possibility. And then there's the mystery of the flare. What do you think it signifies?
Honestly, I have no idea. It could be a distress signal, a way to mark a target, or maybe even a trap to lure enemies in. I guess we'll have to wait until the full reveal on April 23rd to find out for sure.
Ugh, the anticipation is killing me. But I have to say, I'm really impressed with how Ubisoft is handling this anniversary. It's not just about celebrating the past. It's about looking ahead to the future of the game and engaging with the community in new and interesting ways.
I agree. They're really pushing the boundaries here. I mean, who would have thought a video game anniversary would lead us to a discussion about real-world survivalism?
It speaks to the power of games as a medium. They can be much more than just entertainment. They can be platforms for exploring complex ideas, sparking conversations, and even prompting real-world action.
It's like that quote by Jane McGonigal, the game designer, where she says, "Games are the most powerful platform for change in the world." I think the Division 2, and especially this anniversary event, is a perfect example of that.
Absolutely. So we've talked about the past and the future of the Division 2, but what about the present? The anniversary is still going on, and they've got all these events and rewards happening right now. What do you think is the most exciting thing for players to experience?
Well, aside from the XP extravaganza, which is a great opportunity to level up quickly, I think the free backpack with the dynamic display is a really cool reward. It's a nice way for players to show off their dedication to the game.
It's definitely a unique item, and it shows that the developers are paying attention to the details. But, beyond the events and rewards, what I find most fascinating is the way this anniversary is bringing the community together. You see players sharing their experiences online, discussing the new content, and even debating the merits of rabbit ears in a post-apocalyptic world.
That's a good point. It's creating this shared experience, a sense of belonging that goes beyond the game itself. It's like a virtual campfire where everyone's gathered to share stories and speculate about what's coming next.
And that sense of community, that feeling of connection, is something we crave as humans, especially in a world that can often feel isolating and fragmented.
You're absolutely right. It seems like this deep dive into the Division 2 has taken us down some unexpected paths. We've explored the psychology of collapse, the rise of survivalism, and even the power of games to connect us in these meaningful ways.
It's amazing what you can uncover when you start digging beneath the surface. And who knows what other surprises await us as we continue to explore this evolving world of the Division 2.
Well, speaking of surprises, there's one more thing we need to talk about. Remember that mysterious flare we saw in the Battle for Brooklyn teaser?
Oh, I haven't forgotten. What do you think it means?
I have a theory. And it's a bit out there, but bear with me.
I'm all ears.
Okay, so what if that flare is a signal for something totally new? Like, what if it's not just a distress call or a target marker, but an invitation?
An invitation.
Yeah, an invitation. What if Battle for Brooklyn isn't just about, like, fighting for control of the borough? What if it's something bigger? Something beyond the usual conflict between factions?
Okay, you've got my attention. What are you thinking?
What if that flare is a signal for players to come together, not to fight each other, but to cooperate on something massive, something that requires the entire community to work together?
That's a really fascinating idea. It would certainly be a departure from the typical gameplay loop of the Division 2.
Yeah.
But it would also be incredibly ambitious and potentially revolutionary.
Imagine, like, hundreds of players all working together to achieve this common goal. It could be anything. Building this massive structure, defending a key location against a horde of enemies, even launching a coordinated assault on a major enemy stronghold.
It would require a whole new level of coordination and communication between players. They would need to strategize, delegate tasks, and execute their plans flawlessly.
Exactly. And it would tap into that core theme of community that we've been talking about throughout this entire deep dive.
It would be a true test of the Division's ability to unite and rebuild. It would also be a powerful statement about the importance of cooperation and collective action in the face of adversity.
And think about the narrative possibilities. It could be like a turning point in the game's story, a moment where the players truly shift the balance of power and start to reclaim the world from the chaos.
It would be a story about hope and resilience, about the power of human connection to overcome even the most daunting challenges.
I don't know about you, but I'm really excited to see what Ubisoft has in store for us.
Me too. This Battle for Brooklyn DLC has the potential to be something truly special.
And even if my crazy theory about the flare turns out to be completely wrong, I think it's a testament to the game's ability to spark our imaginations and make us think outside the box.
It's a reminder that games can be more than just entertainment. They can be platforms for exploring complex ideas, challenging our assumptions, and even inspiring us to think differently about the world around us.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Well, if you haven't already, I highly recommend checking out The Division 2. Even if you're not a hardcore gamer, there's something incredibly compelling about this world, these characters, and the stories they tell.
And if you're already a fan of the game, then get ready for Battle for Brooklyn. It's shaping up to be a game changer, and I can't wait to see how it unfolds.
But beyond the game itself, I think this deep dive has revealed something deeper. Something about our own fascination with survival, resilience, and the power of community.
It's a reminder that even in a world that can often feel uncertain and chaotic, there's still hope, there's still beauty, and there's still a powerful drive within us to connect with others and build a better future.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and maybe even pick up a copy of The Division 2. You never know, you might just find yourself drawn into a world that's both exhilarating and surprisingly thought-provoking.